So
accomplish that.
now, could you use that to also set up your shot too? I think I've heard this before where people are talking about like they'll use that type of funneling to set their shot, the kind of
Yeah,
force into an area for their shot, right?
shot. Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
that's essentially what you're doing is bringing them to that focal point there that you can get your shot opportunities at them. So,
Yeah, I mean, because we're only talking quarter acre, maybe half acre of a
yeah,
plot.
it's
Anyways.
we're not talking, yeah, big area, but enough to bring them into a point where you're like, "Hey, this is a 50-yard shot for me for a crossbow or bow hunting." So I know this is where they're gonna enter and exit, so
So we touched on grains again with this episode. You brought it up again, and I think you also touched on like not all grains are the same because you're going to you hear different types of grains that are out there. Rye is one of those examples you gave last time. Was that there's this type of a rye, but there's also a winter rye, and you got to be careful which one you grab because the one's basically just it's garbage. It's not.
essentially,
It's
yeah.
not. I mean, I guess they could probably get some nutrition from it, but
Yep,
it's not what you're going to get from the other, which is
right.
that winter rye is what you said, right?
Yes, winter rye is absolutely yes. You get more if you get more winter rye out of winter rye than, ryegrass or, um, oh, there's a couple of different names. I kinda lose my train of thought on those, but, you just get more out of it per se for the deer and more food out of that aspect, so
No,
nutrition-wise, but
I mean, yeah, it makes sense, and it just want to, it's covering, that we make sure you grab like the right stuff because it's back to planting the right stuff in those plots. What type of food sources you want to put in there, because you're trying to maximize the benefits of those, right? Because one, it has to be palatable. It's small, so you want it to be palatable. I also think another concern was you want something that's going to be able to handle the browsing that it's probably going to receive. Is that another consideration to think
yep.
of?
That's absolutely a consideration just because so clover can take once clover's established, that can take browse pressure very, very well. Obviously, too much, it won't survive, but brassicas can take some browse pressure, but at some point they're done. And then you're left with stems coming out and it's just the plant can't keep going. And then with grains though, you can put more plant into a denser area than you can with brassica. Brassica needs room to grow and it needs less or it needs more area, I should say. And grains can be tightly planted together so you get more growing a thicker, you know, stand of it. So, I mean, it's a balancing game with all of it too. So, and that's why a lot of the times you got to read on what the planting rate is on whatever area you're working on. So, like my deep wood stuff is specifically set up for hand broadcasting and for the aspect of in a quarter acre, this is what you need to put down to give all the plants the right amount of room per se
Mhm.
and the right amount of seed on the ground so you get a good stand of clover and brassica and the grains. So there's there's some science behind planting rates. Corn is a big thing too. If you plant corn too close together, it stunts the growth. If you plant it too far apart, you won't get the right yield out of it. Your corn or the cobs that grow off of it, basically, that you don't get a good harvest out of that. So that's why there's a planting rate for corn and why you got to use a planter more or less to get the best outcome for what you're putting down. So
And who'd have thought? We all thought farmers were just big dumb hillbillies out there
they're big
growing.
dumb hillbillies with big tractors.
But come to find out, there's some deep
There's
science that goes into this whole even growing corn. So to
oh
be,
yeah,
for
corn and
high yield.
soybeans, all of that. Yep. There's all scientific stuff on planting rates and if you plant it too far apart and how much more yield you get out of soybeans if you plant them, X amount of feet from each other. And there's a lot to all this. So
Yeah.
that's why just looking and reading the back of labels on things really will help you, you know, get the best for what you're basically putting your money to. So,
Right. So I'll
yep.
do